Good afternoon. My name is Henry Keane, and in this very studio, I'm not alone tonight. Oleksandr Merezhko, chair of the Committee on Foreign Policy and Inter-Parliamentary Relations of Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, is with us tonight. Oleksandr, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. You must know everything. Ukraine defense and counteroffensive. Please, can you give us with some sort of a bird's eye view on the state of our armed forces today, the counteroffensive success, and if possible, I know that this is a hard question, if possible, some forecast for 2024?
Well, in this regard, the counteroffensive was a success. Of course, we expected more. We expected the complete liberation of our whole territory, which hasn't happened yet. But we have very good prospects. As a result of counteroffensive, and it was recognized by the State Secretary Blinken, Ukraine has managed to liberate more than 50% of the territory which had been previously occupied by Russian troops. This is already a huge success. The second success is related to Black Sea. Turned out to be that Ukraine right now is controlling basically Black Sea, and Russian fleet, Russian Navy is scared of Ukrainian forces. And it also has been recognized by the Western analysts. So we can talk about certain military strategic success achieved by Ukraine. And of course, we are hopeful that we'll continue to be successful in this regard in the next year.
Thank you so very much for your detailed answer. I, hear some voices now and then, and people that are not related anyhow to Ukraine, they ask me, Henry, I've heard that voices in America, I heard it in Ukraine. Why Ukrainian counteroffensive is so slow, why the Ukrainian armed forces are not fighting according to NATO doctrine. And I always ask people to read my lips, well, Ukrainian army just simply does not have that much of what is necessary. And if the aviation will be here, if those F-16s will be here, then the world probably could see a Ukrainian victory already. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, to achieve bigger success, we need several components, several things.
Right.
First of all, we need more weaponry of high quality, contemporary weaponry, especially long-range missiles, long-range artillery, ATACMS. We also need military aircraft to achieve predominance, domination in the skies of Ukraine, like F-16. So this is the first thing which we need, weaponry and ammunition. The second thing which we should also have is to receive all this weaponry and ammunition on time, which is also critically important for developing counteroffensive.
Right, absolutely. I read you. I absolutely agree with you. Well, in terms of support from the part of the world that likes to call itself civilized, how would you rate it? Say, or from 0 to 10, what is the support from the world towards Ukraine? What is it?
Very interesting question, and it's hard to answer.
It is.
But I think that it's definitely more than 5, but it's not 10 on this scale.
That's a very proper answer.
Yeah, but we expect that the next year, this scale, this grade will be growing. And we hope to achieve at least 9 on this scale.
Wow, great. It is lovely to hear that. On the other side, how would you assess the Russian military, economical and political resource? What is it? What is its state at the moment, do you think?
Well, you're absolutely right talking about resources, because when we're talking about the war of attrition, what is really important in such kind of wars is a battle, so to speak, of resources. It's not about territories only, it's about resources. And Russian resources, I would say that, of course, yes, they have more people, they have bigger manpower, but their soldiers are not motivated. Ukrainian soldiers are motivated for a very simple reason, because we are fighting for our homes and our families. We're highly motivated. In contrast, Russian soldiers are not motivated. The quality of training is very low, morale is very low, they have lots of weaponry, but again, weaponry of low quality. So taking this together into consideration, we can see that Russian level is not high. Let me put it this way.
All right. Well, let me ask you a very straightforward question. If that would be up to you, what would you do to achieve a greater global understanding of the fact that Ukraine is actually fighting not only its own war, but also a war for, let's call it what it is, universal human values? What would you do?
Well, I would try to convince not only politicians in the United States, in the European Union, but also their constituencies, the voters of these politicians. I would try them to make them realize that the war Ukraine is waging, it's war in defense of the whole West, of the European Union and the United States. This is about global security, and this is about human values like democracy, like rule of law, like human rights. So this is not only Ukrainian war. Oh, this is not local, some kind of local conflict between one country against the other. This is global conflict, global war. And Russia is waging war against all democratic states, the whole free world. And that's why the United States and the European Union, people living in the countries of the West, they should understand that this is their war. And they should be much more active in support of Ukraine. And their politicians, their governments should be more active in providing necessary, not only economic, but first of all, military and technical support of Ukraine.
Indeed, and I believe also Ukrainian media has to play a bigger and a more smart when trying to convince the constituencies of every politician in Europe and America that this is actually a war for human values, if they say that they profess, if they say that this is a civilized world in the western part of it. But Ukraine in the world 2024, what should we expect from that global society, global international political arena players, the main players?
Well, first of all, we hope to get invitation at the Washington summit in July next year. It will be a NATO summit, and we would like to get invitation to join NATO because we fully deserve to become a full-fledged member of this defense alliance. We also would like to proceed with negotiations to join negotiations on the accession to the European Union, which is also extremely important for the prospects of Ukraine. And we're expecting to receive F-16 and other different kinds of military aircraft. And we also expect to get more weaponry, which is problem number one, issue number one for our defense right now.
How likely you think that Ukraine actually gets an invitation to NATO right on the next summit?
There are countries which understand very well what's going on and that it's in their best interests for Ukraine to join NATO as soon as possible. Among these countries, for example, Baltic states, Poland, some other very close allies and friends of Ukraine. But of course, we understand that the decisions in NATO, within NATO, are taken by consensus. And we need to persuade other partners, other member states of NATO, to explain to them that, again, it's in their interests for Ukraine to join NATO, and it will bring closer the end of Russian aggression against Ukraine.
Of a Latvian passport, I couldn't agree more with you. My next question: Ukraine is a hero country, to me at least, and to everyone that I know. 3 points. Why is this true, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, we are defending not only ourselves. We play the role of the shield, so to speak, of Europe. This is extremely important. Second, many analysts didn't believe in us when it all had started. I mean, the full-scale invasion. Some politicians had written us off. They didn't believe. But we made a miracle, actually. Our army made a miracle. And now we have second year. Soon we'll be entering the third year of this war for our sovereignty against Russian aggression. And of course, it's a heroism of our army and our people, because we have given example of resilience of Ukrainian population. Last winter was really harsh, but we survived. And we not only survived, we continue to liberate our territories. And we are fighting against the second biggest army in the world. Let me give you just one example.
Please.
Turned out to be that Ukrainian army has destroyed 90% of the Russian army, which initially invaded Ukraine. 90%. This is an excellent example of heroism of Ukrainian people and Ukrainian army.
What can I say? Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
Oleksandr Merezhko was with us tonight in the studio, chair of the Committee on the Foreign Policy and Inter-Parliamentary Relations of Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. Dear Oleksandr, thank you so very much for your time and for your experience.
Thank you.
Hope to talk to you soon. It was really a lovely conversation. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.